minutes and we'll get going here. Just so I know, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. Right on. Yeah, and as always, we'll make this one interactive. If you guys want to scribble some stuff on and ask some questions or take whatever trade you see, this is interactive for the whole group. It's a backtesting session. We can take any trade anybody wants to take. We can dissect them, see if we should take them or not. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to speak up, annotate or whatever. The only thing I ask is if you annotate, clear your screen. Yeah, we'll give everybody like 2 more minutes and then we'll get going here. This one here, we'll just kind of do a quick analysis from daily on. And I probably won't mark any daily zones. We'll end up just marking 4 hour and 15 minutes. Just looking at it quickly, we're obviously bearish on daily. And obviously the reason I say we're bearish is we came down and the last thing we did was run this low. So let's see what we here. Just hold on, guys. I gotta send somebody a link here. Let's see. 2 seconds here. And we'll get going like a minute or 2 here. Just 2 seconds, guys. All right, cool. Cool. Good morning, bro. Morning, bro. Okay. All right, so I think we'll get going here. It's 10:01. Anybody that shows up late can just kind of see what they missed in the recording. So as we were saying, we're bearish on the daily. Bearish being we took this low and then we just made another low. Chances are we're going to see some sort of retracement and yeah, we'll go with that. I'm not going to mark any daily zones because I think everything we need can be done from 4 hour. Now, just looking where we are in 4 hour, we could say right now, so we could say right now we're kind of reacting to this zone somewhat. And we'll call this one 4 hour supply. The next zone I'd look at is probably these sell to buy wicks are they're not always anything, but it's good to mark them because sometimes price will react off it and you just want to know what you're reacting off. And we'll call this one 4 hour supply as well. And you guys can see we're kind of tapping into it. We're rejecting off of it. Looking at this right now, what we can view from the 4 hour is we failed to get a body close outside of this OB. So as of right now, this OB is holding. And we could also say that we're bearish on the daily. We'll say we're bullish on the 4 hour, bullish when we took this high here that gave us the last drive down. So as soon as this high was taken with a body close right here, that would make us bullish on the 4 hour. So as of right now, we can assume that we're likely going to remain bullish for a bit. And looking at this with the doji, looking at the fact that we failed to close, I'm going to say we can expect some sort of a retracement. So this is kind of, yeah, this is how I do my analysis from the top down. We could even pull this doji again. I'd rather have too much stuff pulled because the most common question I get messaged to me is how do you select your POI? How do you know which one's gonna hold? I don't. I pull them all and I look at the reactions inside. If I knew what POI I was going to react off every time, I would probably just be like, okay, well, we're not going to take a trade until it hits that POI. Obviously, it's not the case. We can look at a couple of things such as is there inducement intact and all of these things. So like looking at these sell to buy wicks, for example, we came up here and we cleared this whole range, basically saying that this supply here has no inducement of any sort. We wiped it clean. So chances are this is not going to hold. And at the bare minimum, we should see some sort of reaction from one of these, and we should make it to one of these. This theory is based entirely off this range being wiped, and there's nothing there. This zone, yeah, we're gonna investigate this zone a little deeper, and we're gonna go down on the 15-minute. As of right now, this zone is rejecting. So that's what I was saying. We failed to get a body closed on the 4-hour. We're reacting off the zone above. So we're gonna go into something lower, like the 15-minute now. Whoever's making noise, you want to just mute yourself and then just unmute yourself if you got to speak, just so it's a little quieter. Or I can even probably do it here. Let's see. Or no, that's me. Oh, never mind. I think it's muted. Okay, cool. So looking at the 15-minute, whoops, let's just get rid of that. So looking at the 15-minute, we obviously had some sort of news here. To myself, I would probably start looking at demand zones such as this guy here. That would be the first zone I would pull, and we'll call that a 15 demand. We're going to pull the very extreme of the range, obviously. Do you consider news wicks as valid S&D? Absolutely, man. And how you can investigate that is, let's see. Usually there's something. So yeah, so this would be your clean 10-minute POI. If you just go through your POIs, you can kind of dial in. But yeah, wicks are definitely something. I'd rather have them pulled than have them not react and miss them completely. And I'll obviously pull the extreme of the range. And here we kind of have two ranges, and I'm going to talk about that in a sec. So we'll call that a 15 demand. You could say this is some sort of demand too that's holding. We'll pull it just for the hell of it. What I'm going to do here to clear things up a bit, we're going to just retract this 4-hour OB. Understand that we're inside a 4-hour OB just so our whole screen's not pink. And that's kind of the zones we're looking at. Now, if we just look at this right now, what would you guys consider this? Just looking at it, would you consider this money? Well, let's try
inducement.
Correct. So there is a chance that this level can hold and we can completely rock it off of it. There's also a chance we can come mitigate the extreme, and there's also a chance, obviously, this can be taken as this itself would be considered as inducement too. And if you can identify these things, it can kind of give you an idea of what POIs to look at. And that being said, this doesn't mean this POI has to fail. We're obviously very bullish. What I can tell you right now, though, is if it does come down here, I would probably be looking at both buys and sells. Just because anytime you see momentum like this, how fast it goes up is usually how fast it comes down. For those of you that are in Phantom, you've probably seen Sketchy's and Albie's videos where they talk about these big candles. Yeah, that would be some sort of a breaker block scenario. I probably wouldn't pull that since it's the same area as the wick, but yeah, they're definitely something. And I've been testing them more and more. And whenever you have a clean push, if you look left, it does seem to react to something over here more often than not. So right now we in Phantom, yes, they prefer to have inducement before POI. Yeah, exactly. So when we were looking at the 4 hour, this is a wick, and we have a doji inside this 4 hour zone. Right now, we could say we could probably see some kind of drive down to either this POI, or this POI. Being that we're bullish on the 4 hour and bullish on the 15, even though we're highly priced, you probably still wouldn't rule out buys. So when you get something like this, there's sort of a 2 ranges. So you have like the actual whole leg, which would be this area, and preferably we'd want to see a buy from here. And then the next thing I would probably consider as some sort of a range is from here to the top. Because a lot of times when you see this kind of momentum, it doesn't come down that often. And if it does come down, it usually comes right through and brings this low. Can you zoom in on your screen? Yeah, we totally can, man. So I tried changing the resolution. I was kind of screwing around with that and playing with it, and the recording got all screwed up. So that's why I kept it the same. So when there's no liquidity, you won't consider it a POI? No, not necessarily. Like, it's just, to me, it's a stronger POI. Like every one of these is a POI for their own reason. I just think if inducement's intact and you have a POI with inducement above it, in this case, you have a higher probability of that POI holding. And you guys will kind of see this for yourself too as you test it. Sometimes you get the randomest demand that didn't put in a new high and has no inducement, and it'll hold. But more often than not, your better POIs are the ones that gave you a drive up and took some kind of high. So this one here didn't really give us a high, but you could say this is some sort of structure because this is your low for the new high. Just looking at it in the sense of, if we look at structure right now on the 15, this would be our low. And we could say this would be our high. And then we could say this would be our next low. And then my next high would probably be up here. And that's how I would view 15-minute structure. So you could definitely say this demand is very valid in the sense of this gave us higher prices. And then you could also say, well, isn't it this one because that caused higher prices? Again, we could formulate all these theories. I don't know what's going to hold. So we pull them all, and then we're just going to kind of look at reaction points. And what we can do here is, let's see, 4:15. So we'll kind of fast forward closer to London time and see what happens. Maybe a couple more. 6 o'clock and 6:30. Cool. So let's kind of have a look and see what's going on here. If you guys just joined, I'm just going to mute everybody for now. Hello. Yeah. If you guys want to talk, just unmute yourself. This way we'll kind of keep the audio more clear. Yeah. So just looking at this right now, we're obviously very bullish, and I'm not against shorting for lower prices to one of these POIs, and I'm not against buying from here in case it goes. We obviously don't know where the reactions are going to come from. Is there any significance in using the inside bar for the way we trade? Yeah, so the inside bar is a range on a smaller time frame. So if you're looking at it on a higher time frame and you see an inside bar, you can be like, okay, well, there's some sort of range there. It could be a demand or a supply. I can maybe investigate it on a lower time frame and see if it is something. It comes in really handy if you get into trading seconds, and most people will eventually get into seconds at some point. Even if it's only the 30-second, you will eventually probably get into it. So yes, inside bar is just another way of finding a supply or demand on a smaller time frame. So where are we? 6:44. So as we know, Frankfurt opens around 7. That's when our volume starts coming in, and likely that's when we'll see something happen. And what we'll do is kind of play price a bit, and what we can do is maybe We could kind of go back to here once Frankfurt opens and maybe refine a few more POIs for ourselves too. So Frankfurt's going down right now. As of right now, we don't know if it's a liquidity sweep or if it's just going to tap a POI and go up. What we can do right now is just go back on the 15 and quickly check if there's any sort of POIs anywhere that we want to pull that could have some sort of a significance. To myself, I probably like this doji would be probably something. This top of this wick would be something. Let's see if we get something cleaner on a different time frame. And this is where it's good to play with your time frames. So there we got some sort of POI that looks a little bit cleaner. So we have this, and right above it we have that wick. To me, either one of those could be some sort of a supply zone, and we could possibly look at a sell down. And obviously our buys up will come from any demands we got marked. Definitely feels a little bit clogged here, but let's just go back to the 1 minute and see what we get here. So again, if you guys see anything else, if you want to mark, definitely say something. Outside the inside bar, can you pay attention to use the sell to buy or buy to sell? Absolutely, absolutely. Usually your buy to sell wicks and sell to buy wicks, it's there's something, right? There'll be a smaller time frame POI. So 15 sell to buy wicks might be a 10-minute order block. What's up, Tyler? How's it going, buddy? Good of you to join. But yeah, so yeah, Frankfurt's just opening here right away, and we'll just kind of let price play here. We're in no hurry to get into anything. Again, Frankfurt usually likes to sweep too, and then once we have our sweep, usually it'll go the opposite direction. So yeah, or we are getting a recording. Yeah, everyone will get a recording. I'll give you an unlisted YouTube link after, and you can totally check it out for yourself, just in case you miss anything. All right, so just looking at this, this is our last, no, I guess that's an equal high. We didn't really get any sort of a sweep there yet. So right now we obviously got some kind of a sweep to the downside, we could say. And in here, we could say we're basically looking to break anything that shows us that price is willing to go higher. So to me, like this would be some sort of a supply. I would pull this, or this would be a better supply. And we're just kind of wanting to see something break that's telling us price is willing to go higher. If you're not sure, pull like an extreme supply from up here. Don't just wait for these. Being that we are bullish, more likely than not, we're okay to look for buys. But we could just kind of play this forward a bit more and see how price acts. So right now we're still making lows. Again, we're in no hurry to buy right away. What we can say now is we took this low. If this high gets taken, maybe we could look at something as just being bullish. Like I'm totally fine with looking for buys, even though it is highly priced. And something we can actually do here, whether we choose to use it or not, is we can sometimes what I'll do is shoot these range equilibrium across, so you just kind of know where you are. It doesn't always work out, but if we can, we want to be buying below that line. But sometimes when price is that bullish, it just goes, and in that case we'll obviously just go with the flow. So we're just gonna kind of wait a little more here, see if we get a chalk complete here. So we did take these lows as we were talking about, and we'll just play price on and see if we get a complete chalk. So you kind of have these equal highs here. You could say this is some sort of inducement. And so no high was taken yet. Did that? Not yet. So we're still just waiting for this chalk to complete. So there we could say we have some sort of a chalk. We are poorly priced. Being that we're bullish on both 15 and the 4-hour, I wouldn't be against formulating some kind of buy. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's one of those things. It's take the risk or lose the chance. More often than not, I'll wait for it to come down here. But like I found lately, sometimes the price just takes off. So we didn't really get much of an interaction there. I guess we sort of did, but you could say either this area is the area that took out our mini supply here, or we could go to the extreme. In this case, I'd probably just select the extreme since they're so close together. If they were further apart, I don't mind pulling both. Let's see. And we can just go back, check our higher time frame too. Well, the downside is that showed us what happens. If I was completely honest with you guys, I would totally probably take a buy off that, even though it's poorly priced. But yeah, don't sit on the 1 minute too long. You will get hypnotized. Like even if you got to get on the 5 minute, 1 minute, 3 minute, whatever, just give yourself some time away from that. Being that I pulled this, we're just going to say I took this trade because I probably would in a live market, even though we are poorly priced, being how we are very bullish. Do you not use wicks on 15 as supply zones? Absolutely, I do. Did we miss something? Yeah, we could definitely pull that as a wick, being that it formed. But yeah, absolutely. That is definitely correct. And that's why it's good to always switch back. What did you mark here? That, yeah, we could pull that. We can absolutely pull that. Yeah, we can pull anything. We can take any trade. So we're just going to kind of stay honest with ourselves. I pulled that trade. I was going to take that trade. So we're just going to say I took a loss on that, which is totally fine. Unmitigated wick. Yeah, absolutely. The cool thing about that loss is now we can start looking at a buy from down here, knowing obviously from seeing the 15 come down. So that's our first loss there, and that's totally cool. And basically what we're going to look for now is we assume it's going to probably come down and tap this area. On the 15M now, would you say we had a chalk? Let's go look. On the 15M. Well, I guess you took these lows. For the chalk to complete, you'd have to take these highs. Oh, you're looking at it the other way. You took these highs and now you took this low. And you're talking about it in a short sense. Yeah, you could definitely look at it in that way. And I actually like where your head's at, because something we want to do is ideally we'd want to buy from anywhere lower. So obviously the first one failed, which is, it happens. So a buy from one of these zones would be better. So yeah, we're definitely going to look for buys and sells, as when I see this stuff, I expect lower prices, but I also at the same time look at the size of these candles and look at the momentum and understand that it can't continue. The other thing you can usually assume when the market moves this much at once is that we could range for a bit because we just moved so much at once. I like the reaction to the demand zone. I do too. So yeah, let's find some kind of trade there. And now we're kind of getting into our discount pricing. So just for the sake of clarity, we're going to get rid of that because it doesn't hold. But yeah, let's see how we react down to this demand zone, and maybe we can formulate a properly priced trade. So there's our initial reaction to the demand. And like I said, again, guys, this is participation. So if you see something I don't, you want to take a trade, let's just do it. So to me right now, you kind of swept the lows, and we could wait for this high to go and see if we get some kind of a chalk to complete. Did we sweep liquidity to the left? Depends what you consider liquidity. You could say, yes, we cleared this range out. We haven't swept that yet. But that might not necessarily happen in the first drive. So again, we're going to look for a chalk to complete, and we're going to look at the interaction between buyers and sellers, which to me could be just looking at the last sort of supply on the 15. On the 15, let's see. So on the 15, no, we haven't swept these sort of equal lows yet. Chances are we will. I don't know if we're going to do it on the first drive. So like I said, I'm open to taking buys from here. I'm open to taking sells from here. I'm pretty relaxed, whatever we think is necessary. So right off the bat, as soon as I look at this right now, we have a failed reaction. Failed reaction meaning that we came back up from this point. We sort of made a new high with this wick. So now we kind of expect this high point to give us a new low between below this. So we haven't got that. So that's kind of our first clue to look at this failed reaction. Obviously, we'll let it play on. But as soon as we get a failed reaction, we can start assuming that maybe that's the first clue to price reversing. Being that we're with trend, I'm pretty comfortable with formulating a trade a lot quicker than as if we're looking for a short. We might want to see something a bit more. Yeah, there's definitely something up there. This to me would be kind of like a flat liquidity zone I'd want to wipe. And you did, I guess, wipe a good chunk of that. But yeah, we'll carry on here and we'll see how it reacts. So to myself, now this is kind of a dirty supply zone, but this little gray candle I would pull as the last supply that gave us this low. It's not very clean. It didn't give us a lot of space. And we could probably look at what took out this supply zone or what took out the reaction point. So our initial reaction would be probably, you could even say it almost got taken there. So we didn't even get much of a reaction. We just kind of went through, which to me would be basically this candle, or you could say even this candle, which is your extreme. Is that's 2.3 pips. That's pretty respectable in my books. I don't mind taking something like that. Yeah. And so something I've been learning, yeah, I'm good with a buy. I agree with you, man. Buys are obviously in our favor. Something I've been working on lately too, especially spending time on the seconds. Price will leave an area like this and I'll be like, oh, I missed my buy, and I'll find like an entry in here on the 15 seconds. And more often than not, it comes back to your initial POI that you pulled. So I'm really trying to learn exercising this patience thing. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. And now I'm kind of learning that you're better off missing a trade, waiting for your setup, as the less losses you take, the better your psychology stays too. So we could kind of say we wipe this up here. I'm going to get rid of this range as we totally disrespected it. As of right now, we could still say we're looking for some sort of a buy. Yeah, and let's just see what happens. But yeah, anytime price leaves like this and you see this, don't think you missed it. Don't rush in. More often than not, something crazy like that'll happen and then it'll come down. So what you can look at this zone as, and if you're just patient and you wait for the market to come to you, there's usually a reason why the market drops zones like this. So in this case, we could say, could that be inducement for this zone? Yeah, exactly. So if we just hang out and we just wait, it comes from a supply. Wait for reentry. Exactly. So for those of you that are new to the backtesting session, I like to enter usually 25% of the range when I pull my little fib tool. Or what I'll do sometimes, if the range is small enough, I'll enter right in between the top line and the 25% line. I was using the 50% line before, and what I found was I miss a lot of entries. So if I'm using a buy limit, I'm always looking at this 25% region or just above it to offset spread. If I market execute on the seconds, obviously it doesn't matter, but we're not going to be looking at the seconds here, as I don't even know if the chart goes back that far on the seconds. Every time I try back testing seconds, it really messes me up. And for anyone else that's new too, I'm just going to talk quickly about how I manage. So myself, I would probably go, I don't know, probably like 0.3 below that. You can be safe and cover this wick if you want. You know what? Just because we're trying to teach good manners, we're gonna say we cover that wick. 2.6 is a little large. We're gonna like live on the edge. So my management rules are, if we are 2.5 pips or below, we look for 4R. And at 4R, we can usually sell off 20% of our position. And that's our break even. And we'll leave the stop open. Now, if this happens to be like a 3 pip stop, what I'll do is, as soon as we cross like this supply area, as soon as we cross that, I go break even, because I don't want to have risk in the market any longer than I need to. This is risky. Absolutely. But being that we're bullish, I don't mind taking it. And if we take a loss, that's fine. A couple of losses count for nothing when you nail off one trade with high R's. So yeah, we'll just kind of look at that. I'm not going to go to the 15 quite yet, but it'll probably show us what happens. But maybe yeah, in a little bit here we'll go and just check things out. But yeah, like being that we're bullish, I would absolutely take this. If this fails, we can totally go down and take another buy from down below. And that's just life. But yeah, it definitely makes me nervous when it's not aggressive or it doesn't want to leave the area very quickly. But I swear that's the algorithm playing with our emotions, because they know how human beings think. So this is like not my favorite thing to see, but we'll just kind of play forward and see what happens. We are robots. Not quite, man. We're emotional fucking messes, if anything. We're all good till 2 losses happen, and then suddenly you're not as strong as you think. But I found if something like that happens, if you just get away from the screen for 10-15 minutes and come back, I'm usually good after. So just from a management perspective too, seeing price play like this, I find taking the dog for a walk works. Yeah, man, I take my dog outside for 10-15. He does his business, and usually you come back better. Sometimes you miss trades, sometimes you don't, but whatever works for you. Sometimes you're better off not to just keep trading. I just follow my plan. Exactly. Most times you can get away with between 1 to 3 trades, maybe 4. If you took 4 trades and nothing went, I would probably just let that day go. Chances are you're just better off coming back tomorrow. Sometimes the market's just not the greatest, and sometimes it just beats you. When I see shit like this, right away, I'm gonna look for a reason to pay myself early, because this isn't what we like to see. This to me kind of looks like a range, and usually what happens with a range is you stack liquidity low, you stack liquidity high, and then you run both and expand the range before the true move. So we didn't get our V-shaped recovery that we like to see. This left sort of okay, but then it kind of did this. So being that we said that, this zone got tapped into, let's just look at the 15 here. So that obviously shows us what happened. But if you were a smart trader, where would you guys pay yourself? Would you say it would be smart to pay yourself right at this supply, just in case this gives us nothing, at least a chunk? I am 100% with you. I would at the supply. Yeah, so we'll definitely partial out at this supply. and leave a little bit on. This is not the kind of PA we like to see. Generally, that's range creation, and range gets wiped up and down, usually twice, and then it leaves the area. With that being said, though, is it safe to say maybe we could look at a short from this same supply, depending how it forms? And if we look for a short at the bare minimum, I would say we could probably run these lows as they're becoming weak if this high doesn't get taken. So we'll probably play a little bit of a range area. So we're going to be very smart about partialing out and paying ourselves. 3.48, probably not the greatest trade. First double confluence. Yeah, however you guys want to do it. Some of you guys are safer. I tend to be a little riskier sometimes, but that's where the seconds is nice too, is you can give yourself extra confluence. Yeah, so we could say we took a partial there, if nothing else, covered this loss and covered the risk. If you guys even want, can close this out completely. To be honest, I'm not overly pumped that we're in a trade that's only 3.48R. Usually try not to take those. I would take 80% off. I'm with you, bro. So let's say we took 80% off and we have next to no risk. So if this comes back and takes us out, we covered this loss and we made a little bit of money. It's early in the session. We're not too worried about it. With that being said, too, we have a very poorly formed bottom with more or less equal lows. And more often than not, we can, where's my thing? Yeah, more often than not, we can probably target that. Obviously, for our longer trades, we're going to probably wanting to be looking at buys. Being that this price action is dog shit. Yeah, exactly what I'm looking at, bro. Good eye. So what Adrian pointed out here was we had a last sort of a demand point here. And we swept the highs and swept the lows. We tapped into a higher time frame supply. So now we can formulate an idea that we could probably target these lows, partial out there, and see if we make the next demand. So we'll go chalk top, and then we'll go chalk bottom. So this is ideally what we want to see. PJ is requesting remote control your screen. No, bro. If you want to do something, you can draw. Chalk bottom, chalk top. I would take 80% V-shaped recovery. Yeah. And the other thing we can look at on top of the V-shaped recovery is the engulfing candles, right? Yeah, I want to draw on the screen. You should be able to annotate, bro. Somebody in the group could probably tell you how to do it better than me, because my computer skills, as you guys all know, are pretty minimal. I was a welder by trade before this, so you know I can like open an email. But yeah, feel free to draw on the screen. You should be able to. Other people are able to. So we're looking at this. You could say this is a reaction point, or you could even say this is the initial reaction. There is a string bar. Yeah, annotate. There you go. Thanks, buddy. So if we're looking at what took out this reaction point, I would probably pull this whole candle, and oddly enough, you get an inside bar. And somebody asked a question earlier, how do you use the inside bars to go with your trading? Well, quite simply, right there, this is telling us there's some sort of range here on the seconds, which is some sort of zone that we can look at a trade. All right. So again, we're not going to just rush into anything. We're going to wait for our POIs to get met. At this point, we would probably want to see this get swept. And if this gets swept, there's a good chance that you can look at it as price wanting to go lower too. But more often than not, anytime you see equals like this, they will go. It's just the way the market moves. This was obviously a good reaction off the top. So our lows did get swept. Now looking at this too, every time we tap into this demand, it gets weaker. So we can start formulating the idea of maybe running that. And PJ wants to, I think, pull a, are you wanting to pull this supply and buy back up? Because I'm totally open to that too. Whatever you guys want to do here. Supply. So again, you got a good, decent reaction there. We like seeing that. Yeah. So we can kind of look at the interaction there and see what happens. So we did get some sort of a reaction, which is, we like to see that. So since we did get a reaction, again, we have two sort of points here. The actual thing that took out your reaction point is this inside bar. And obviously the extreme is, yeah, that could also be inducement. Being that these two are close together, hold on. Do you guys want to take, hold on, where's my pen? Do you guys want to take this zone or this zone? So we'll call the first one zone 1 and then zone 2. So who wants to take zone 1 and who wants to take zone 2? Just kind of annotate on the screen, let me know, or circle, whatever you guys want to do. So we're going with 1, we're going with 2. Myself, when I see zones this close together, I would probably go for the extreme. And the reason that I would go with the extreme is just how close these zones are together. And what Adrian pointed out earlier was this could be inducement. Now, if the first zone was here and the second zone was way higher, 1, but with a confirmation entry, to get that, you would probably be looking at the seconds. So what I was going to say was I like the first zone most times, but these zones need to be further apart. Like these zones are literally touching. So I would say, let's roll with the second. At the, okay. So that got rid of my point here. So back to our point, extreme because it actually took liquidity. There you go. There you go. So obviously you guys are pretty brushed up on the material. Whoever's got that circle going, you want to remove it for me? Or I guess I can here. Let's see. Annotate. There. Perfect. All right. I'm getting quite tech savvy here, guys. I can talk quite well. All right. So how do I get rid of that? Like that. So yeah. If we did take it from the extreme, where would you guys want to take this? So, yeah, I'm with you. You would definitely partial out there. And I'm still not against that sell we have going either. And the reason is like we talked about earlier, is we're going to create a zone. We're going to wipe the highs. We're going to wipe the lows. And we'll probably create a zone again, wipe the highs and wipe the lows. And then you should see some sort of a movement. It's usually 2 or 3 zones, 2 or 3 wipes. Yeah, so we didn't get tagged in this. And myself, I would not rush into this. Every time I do, I get fucked. Yeah, exactly. We got equal highs, and equal highs are usually inducement. And if we do miss a trade too, it's not the end of the world. So we got 2 trade ideas going here. And I'm not against either idea. So that one there, we could say might have tapped this in, it might have not. So we'll just keep playing price. Being that I enter on the 25%, I would probably say that didn't tag us in. Just if we're being completely fair and honest here. We definitely kind of wipe these equal highs. We kind of to me that wouldn't be a top. So again, on the flip side of things too, that wouldn't be a top in for me either, I don't think, as I need to see that 25%. If we did kind of offset it, you could say we're in this. Say, let's just have a look. How many pips is that? 2.8, 2.6. That's pretty large. That is pretty large. I'm gonna just hang out and wait for my 25%. Because that's getting to a pretty large stop. And if you're gonna do that with Euro, you probably don't want to do it in a range. But we'll just play on here. To me, what I would essentially this buy here, we'd probably partial out somewhere here and shoot for the sky. This sell here, I would probably look at partialing out here or running the lows and then hopefully hitting the second demand. But either way, you always want to be protecting your risk. One zone covering extreme with SL. Not sure what that means, but using the seconds time frame, are you monitoring trading view then executing market execution on MT4? Yeah, exactly, man. And something I learned with the seconds too is I was trying to get in with 1 pip stops before, and usually my bias was right, but I found it kept taking me out. So now even on the seconds, I take usually a 1.5 pip minimum, 2 pips more often than not. It's good to give it room to breathe. I have had quite a few 1 pip stop trades take off, but more often than not, it takes you out and then runs the target. So if you do use seconds, still give yourself that 1.5 pip or 2. Don't be greedy. You'll make more money giving yourself a little bit of room. And with that being said too, like, don't be looking at, you don't think that's valid? It could be, it could not be. Yeah, it'll probably run that high. We are bullish, so it is technically valid. I'm too scared to touch seconds. You don't need to, honestly. And the way I started using seconds is I'll wait for it to hit a POI like this and leave it. And then I'll look for a seconds entry as a double confirmation. Well, this move here did come from a supply. That's why I'm okay with shorting this too. Right now we're in the range, so we want to play anything up here and anything down here, right? So anytime we have a range, that's you're just playing the edges, and we're gonna essentially try to stay out of the middle. And in theory, it should work out. Buy limits are not valid. It comes from a supply. Buy limits are not valid. Well, we're in it now. Just swept liquidity to the left, only with a lower time frame flip. Yeah. Either way, we're in this buy now, so we're committed. We'll shoot for the sky, obviously partial out here. What does the 5-minute zone look like? We can have a look. I don't use 5 minute for anything, as it's just not I find it to be not enough. I think it will hit a sell. If it does, that's fine too. So you're talking about this 5-minute supply. Yeah. From that perspective too, though, you failed to take this low right now. Would that be a zone? I probably wouldn't use this. Again, we're in the range. Let's play this edge. Let's play that edge. If the range expands, we'll play higher edges. But the whole middle area, to me, is not that amazing. I like 15 for refining 15 zones. Yeah, and that's whatever works for you. Like, I don't use 5 minute for absolutely anything aside from giving my eyes a break from the 1 minute. Or sometimes I'll look for a 5 chalk. You're looking for a sell from there. Yeah, we can take that. So let's see this zone here. Yeah, we could take a sell from here. I'm still kind of more of this zone guy, but if you want to take that, let's take it. So we'll say we took that sell. To me, like 5 minute zones, or I don't know, I don't have luck with them. I know a lot of you guys do use it, and you do have quite a bit of luck with it. I don't, so I don't have like anything positive to say about it. It's just not the way I trade. If a zone gets 50% mitigated, doesn't it become invalid? Well, mitigation is a funny thing, depending which time frame you're looking at. But on a smaller time frame, if it gets tapped once, like 1 minute, it goes. But yeah, this would be your 50% mitigated. So yeah, in that case, I wouldn't have taken that, but we're in it. like I said, I don't use 5-minute guys, and I don't rush into stuff. I keep these original POIs. More often than not, they work. If they don't, that's totally cool. I still think we're going bullish to a higher time frame supply. I am 100% with you, bro. I am 100% with you, which is why we're in that buy. And so this would be our top on our sell. And that right there is why I wait for these. Like I said, I'd do something like this and I'd enter in on this. And the next thing you know, you take a loss. But this is all just liquidity. So I would probably definitely take partials here, enough to cover this risk, seeing as we're in a range. And we're going to go the other way too. So anytime you're playing a range, don't be shooting for 10, 15 hour trades. You'll likely get burnt. So this is a nice stop here, 1.5. I like trading that. Myself, if this fails to put in a new high and this sell is valid, at the very least, we're taking this low. That's 5.4R. If this low goes, I'd be happy with taking partials here and letting some ride to see if it'll hit the next zone. What are you talking about? Yeah, so we're still in the buy. I just said we took partials off. Really not sure how. Yeah, absolutely, it could go. This is the middle of the range. I wouldn't dare use that for anything. You're in a range. Like if you look at this, you play the edges. This stuff in the middle, if you look at how prices moved, if you get involved in this middle, like we did here, and like we did here, we ate shit both times. So if we take more stuff in the middle, I can probably tell you exactly what's going to happen. But we'll just play it forward again. At the end of the day, this is a backtesting session and it's supposed to be a learning session. So if you guys want to take trades from the middle of the range, I am totally down. And if nothing else, you'll see what happens when you play in the middle of the range. It rarely works out, at least in my experience. Chalk flip inducement. Yeah, that is literally what we're looking. If this supply fails, can we take a buy entry from the STD flip to the upside? Absolutely. We can do anything you guys want to do. This is you're in a range. You're in a range. So I know I was saying that high should go because it failed. Well, it didn't really fail. This high is holding, but it did fail to put in a new low. But now you look at the flip side, you have a low that failed to put in a new high. So now what you actually have is a weak high and a weak low, which makes both of these trades were invalid. If in a range, trade the edges. There you go. But yeah, I like to sell better because of how much smaller our stop is. This buy is like, yeah, it's 2.4 is okay, but when you're in the range and you're in such a small area, like we would have probably ended up selling 30 or 40% of this position up here just to make sure we covered risk, just because we didn't get that small of a stop. But to me, I would be looking at running these lows and partially out. If nothing else, we're broke even on both of these trades. But again, like I said to you earlier, guys, usually when a range is created, it's wiped at least 2 times, sometimes 3. And usually after a very aggressive move, the range itself gets formed. It doesn't usually just stay aggressive forever. That being said, though, you know, these are just theories and they can fail. So we could say we took some partials here when we ran this bottom. We broke even on this trade. We lost this trade that we took in the middle of the range. So overall, it's not going that amazing so far. Yeah, we could pull that. Totally, man. We can pull that. And we'll go check out the higher time frame in a sec too, see what it looks like. But to me, we're still looking at running all this liquidity here. So you could have even realistically probably took your first partials there, as these are equal lows. They will get taken. Whether or not this supply goes is another question, but you could have said run these lows, partial out there, which would have 6.6R. That seems like a good place to take partials. Leave some on the table. Yeah, overall, it's not the most amazing session, but we're also managing risk well, so we're not down either. So don't just look at your wins, look at how we're not taking big losses. And that to me is very important. Very rangy session. Yeah, it's not often London does this. I swear they saved this for New York. And then London's just like, here's like a leg with 19 entries for you guys in case you missed the first 17. London definitely seems to have it a little easier. Myself, again, I said we took partials. I leave my stops open. And yeah, we'll just kind of carry on. So us NY traders got it rough. Yeah, a little bit. It's a little unfair. Yeah, you could say that's inducement. As far as taking a sell from there, I probably wouldn't. And we can also look for another buy too. So right here, when you guys see stuff like this, what does that tell you? Do you think that's showing intention to go up? Or do you think that looks like stacked liquidity? Because anytime I ever look at stuff like this, to me, that's usually getting taken 100%. 100%. So this is stacked and everything's mitigated. If price was to come through that, it should come through that pretty quick. Being that that's there, it would be safe to assume to say that low should go. Let's see, we'll go money bottom. Yeah, anytime you see like this, so when price is intending to move, you see a little more aggressive action. When price is stacking liquidity, it's usually stacking to get run. So myself, I probably wouldn't be looking at this as a break of supply and looking for something in here as an entry just because of the way this formed. But if you guys want to take the trade, I am down for whatever. So yeah, so we tapped into the supply Adrian wanted us to pull. Let's actually check the 15 here. So I mean, it isn't premium. It's a 15 wick. We could definitely look for something in there if you guys want. That's totally up to you guys. If you guys want, I'm totally down. If not, whatever happens, happens. But as of right now, I still, yeah, we're going to keep our sell. And obviously, we want more buys. Mitigation and cause. So yeah, so this will likely get run. Looking at the supply Adrian had us pull here, would it be legit to take a sell from here? Depending how it forms and how it looks, I would say yes, because to me this low should go and this liquidity should get taken. And there's also no inducement in this demand, and we get that from just looking at it. There's literally no inducement of any kind in this demand. It's all been taken. So this demand to me has become quite weak, and we can probably go as far as saying that this low will go and we'll likely see a touch to this. Yeah, so yeah, 100%. So let's see kind of how this top forms. And if you guys see something too, and so that's a nice reaction there. If you guys see something you want to take, draw it out, type it out, say something. Yeah, you could, but you haven't broken this demand yet. So to me, just looking at this, you would probably want to see this demand go at a bare minimum. Could you take this supply that caused a sharp move down before the stacked liquidity? You're talking this supply here. Yeah, this could become something. So as of right now, I would be looking at this as that. And right now you kind of have a reaction point. No, not this. The one before to the left. And do you want to just annotate that one there? I would absolutely look for something in there. Being that we're in a cell, I would probably be in no hurry to get in a second cell unless you see something that's really amazing. So yeah, if you want to, yeah, let's take that. I am totally fine with you guys. So we'll say we're in that. And let's just see what happens. You want a stop loss above the wick. Okay, that's cool. Totally. So we're like just in that. Is that 2.9 pips? Bro, you're crazy. It's an insane stop loss for a range. But we're going to take it. You're going to take it. Again, at the end of the day, this is supposed to be interactive. So we're going to take anything anybody wants to take. Would I take the one you marked? Absolutely not, because I'm already in a cell. I am in a cell from a better positioned area with risk off that paid me, so I don't need to get in another cell. If, depending on the way this reacts and what kind of reaction points we get, you're calling this a demand? Yeah, we could. We could say this is your sort of last demand that put in that high. Yeah, you could say you swept liquidity. Again, you if you guys want to take another sell, we can. Let's just play and see what happens. It's not a big deal, really. Like you get one or two trades that takes off. So right now we're still kind of making higher prices, obviously. I'm still biased to run this. So depending what happens, I'd like to. And if not, I would like a buy from somewhere lower, obviously. I don't want to buy from up here. So this little guy's still sort of holding. DSL was too tight, bro. That was 3 pips. I wouldn't have even taken that in a range. I don't think so. Yeah, that was 2.9 pips on euro. That's a lot. That's like a GU stop pretty near. If you're like shooting for the skies and price is aggressive, yeah, 3 pip stops okay. Yeah, there you go. So 2.5 is my max if I'm managing the way I manage. If it's above that, I manage very aggressively because it's just EU doesn't move enough. Yeah, there's a reason for that. 2 is my max, exactly. But yeah, 2.9, like I'm not down for covering all that. So yeah, you did have stock liquidity. You did sweep it all. We could say our latest demand that gave us a high is this little guy. Whether or not we get any kind of interaction, you would look at that demand. You could. I would look at this one because this is like stock liquidity. But totally up to you. If you want to look at this one, let's actually see how that plays out for us. And this is the cool thing. You see everybody's point of view and everyone's so different. A lot of times people take trades and get into different trades that I wouldn't have even like spotted. And it's cool to see that. So we could say we're getting some sort of a reaction to this demand. And Adrian's demand failed here. So if this demand failed, is this the NY session? Yeah, it is. NY opens at 1400 at 1300. We start looking at it. Absolutely, I'm with you, bro. So I'd be more than happy to take pretty much something in here the way this broke. So I'd definitely be more than happy to enter anywhere. I would say anywhere in this range, depending on the size of that. What is that? Hold on. Let's just see how many pips is that. So that's 1.8 pip. And we could probably lower that down a bit so it's not as bad. And yeah, could just say take a trade from up here. 1.5 pips, not bad. In all reality, for those of you guys that trade seconds, you would have probably taken this execution right here when this candle happened. Because on the seconds, you're breaking everything there. So we could definitely look at that. And then we'll kind of have a look at how the second reaction forms off the other demand. And well, obviously, if you're smart, you'd probably take some partials at this low. But being that this demand has no inducement, so that would be Adrian's tap in there. This would be my demand that I pulled. Seeing as how aggressive this is and how we came through it, I would probably be okay with taking an entry half of this candle. To me, that's either going to the extreme or that's getting in right here. So this is probably something I'd take. And in this case, I would only take half the candle. You could say that. For me, I would say this candle caused the failure if we went to the seconds and investigated. So that would be my top if I took this. And you're in your case, your position is actually better than the one I would have taken, but this is something I would have taken for sure. 1.2 pip, that's not bad. Let's just take both for the sake of it. Watch us lose both. Hey, bro, can you zoom in just a bit? I can do anything, man. All right, is that a little better? So, oh man, if these two trades land, we're retiring, guys. Like, and that's the beauty of Euro. And yeah, that's actually kind of cool. The Adrian's trade there, because I would have totally, if you go -2% for a day, do you call it a day? Yeah, I would. I totally would, man. I like funded, I recommend trading 0.25 to 0.5% per trade, and non-funded is obviously at your discretion depending on the size of your account, but usually 1 to 2%. But yeah, and we're retired, guys. So what is that? 7R and almost a 9R. So this makes up for the shit we went through earlier. And if you actually, yeah, exactly, 4 trades is kind of where I'm sticking to. So we just had 1, 2, 3 shorts land. And at this point, all of this bullshit that we went through here is now covered and you don't feel so bad. Because I think we had a break even, and then I think we had a break even, and then we had 1 loss and 2 losses here. But now we're good to retire. All right. So now let's just delete this guy. Oh no, just delete it. All right, cool. So now that this happened and we're seeing some lower prices, maybe we could consider looking at some sort of buys, which is ultimately what we've been waiting for. It's actually kind of nice. It's a lot more attractive this time. I know last time, last time things weren't as interactive. And in this case, we actually ended up making more money taking Adrian's trade. Can you go over the second entry again? So the second entry is, this is a demand I would have waited to fail. I would have just, myself, I would have taken this entry. I actually probably wouldn't have taken that. So it's kind of cool that we got that entry. And to me, it's reaction point. And then what took out the reaction point? And in this case, it was a very large candle, and we said we'd take half of it because of the size of it. And Adrian's is quite similar, reaction point, and what took out the reaction point was something in this candle. So Adrian's, to be honest, we could have probably did something like this, and we could have probably did something like that. And Adrian would have retired you guys for the year. So that's the cool thing about Euro. No other pair will let you do this. Whoa. So that's a really good drive down. We like seeing these big candles. Now, the thing we're going to be looking for is what kind of interaction we get from this 15 supply. And I'll call this supply. Big volume, low spreads. Yeah, EU is absolutely the easiest pair. I'm actually planning to bring GU back in this week. Like I only traded 3 days this week, Monday to Wednesday, but I'm probably going to bring GU back in, and I was kind of back testing it yesterday, and it's not a friendly pair. I actually have better luck with GJ than GU. My only problem with GJ is the spreads. I'm going to have to retire GU and go to EU. Honestly, from my testing, EU gives you better risk reward than any other pair, and that includes gold or US 30. You just get such tight stops. So now this bottom formed very, very correctly. Sweep to the left, aggressive reaction. This is definitely some sort of POI. 100%. I love shit like this. V-shaped recovery, sweep to the left. That is a very, very nice POI. Yeah, you could take that. I would probably be more looking at something like this myself. I do the doji and the wick. And depending on the size of that, we can even refine that. What is that? That's 2.1 pips, this whole area. So if you looked at 25% of this, yeah. And this for me, the way this formed, this is something I wouldn't mind putting a risk entry on. This bottom formed correctly, this OB formed correctly. And yeah, we'll just see the kind of interaction we get here. And right in the beginning, guys, we were saying we're looking for, this is where sketchy usually hit by. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Just on this alone, how it reacts, you could buy. And I do take entries like that sometimes. You got to be on the seconds watching it and market execute, but there's nothing wrong with taking a buy from here and just covering the slow. And on the 5 or 15, you would probably see something pretty decent. Yeah, you could. You definitely could. You could definitely say that's something. This is again being how close your points are together. You could say you could wait for the extreme, but Adrian's a cowboy, so we're gonna take that. Secret sauce, man. I know. We're gonna take Adrian's trade here with we're gonna give it a pip just because, like, you know. So Adrian's already risk off. One of those things where you can mess around and get tagged, so stop loss would cover the low. Oh, there's not a chance I'd cover this low, man. Not on EU. But you're risk off anyway. 4 pips. It really doesn't matter if this trade goes. If you're smart, you'll probably take some money off. Like, what is that? That's 7R. I would definitely take partials on this. And the reason I would take partials on this is the way this is forming. How is this forming? I would take 50% off there. I'm with you. Taking this trade because of something on seconds. Yeah, so this would probably be a 30 or 15 second entry. The way these sell the buy wicks disrespected that. Again, Adrian made us $1 million again here. So yeah, we could say we took 50% off and we took like 3.5R off of that. So totally cool. Now, going back to how this formed here, we can kind of start looking at how this formed. Money bottom. And Adrian's looking at, you're looking at this POI here. You could. You're selling in discount. If we're going to sell again, I would probably say we should sell from something higher. I would take 80% off. All right, so let's say we took 80% off. So we're probably 5R on this trade. No, I would take partials there. No, the sell. Oh, yeah. Let's say we took 80% of this off, and that's a 7.7R. So 80%, we'd be about, 6.5, 7R in the bank. That's a pretty insane trade for 7 pips. again, this is the way this formed, everything about this, any which way you look at it. This would be money. Now, when we're looking at this, this was my whole speech to you guys about not seeing this and being like, oh, we need to get in this, we need to get in this, we need to get in this, because it's just going to run away. Sometimes it will, and you might miss the trade. But when you start seeing stacked liquidity, it'll usually get run by something. Not always, but Euro's very Euro respects the system the most from what I've seen. If this was GU and you missed this, she'd be like 40 pips in the air, not coming back. That there, yeah, we already took that trade, dude. We partialed out. Those are sell to buy. So that's a sell to buy wick. So this is a demand, and these wicks would be our second supply. This would be more clear on the seconds. We're not going to go to it because I'll lose all this. But on the seconds, this would be your sort of supply. This would be the demand that caused it. There was no interaction between buyers and sellers. It was just an aggressive reaction up. So this is another one of Adrian's sketchy trades. In all honesty, I'd probably be in that on the seconds too, which is totally fine. And yeah. But we're just going to kind of see how things are reacting. And so we are going bullish, but now we have even more cause to come down. Yeah, so now we swept the highs. We're just going to look at on 15 here. And that is the downside of trading view right there. We didn't really hit that 15 supply of ours, but I'm just gonna take this, say that's a 15. So we did react to something here. I don't know what it would be on. It'd probably be like a 1 hour supply or something. So we didn't quite get our zone, but we could say you basically reacted to this huge 15 range. And obviously you got an aggressive reaction. Now, looking at this, would any of you guys take a sell? Well, let's get. Would anybody take a sell if this forms correctly and we get a proper reaction point from this demand? We got a yes. I like it. Aggressive little guy. That's what we like to see. Anybody else? Yeah, we're still looking for that buy. Absolutely. Myself, we're in Adrian's buy. We partialed out. Stacked liquidity. Yeah, exactly. We're still coming to get that stacked liquidity. Now, depending the way this reacts here, if you get an opportunity to take that, would you guys short this? Could even say that's something. Yeah, so we got a Y. We got one Y. That's good enough. But we'll just see how that actually. No, I'm gonna move this shit. All right, cool. I would be sitting on my hands right now. No need to catch every trade. Totally cool with your theory, bro. And I'm 100% with you. I want this buy from this extreme. When you got a POI like this, it usually does get validated. Being that we know that, and you didn't really get much of an interaction here, you could probably say, for me, there was no interaction exactly. And if there's no interaction, it's usually the extreme. The extreme to me would be these little candles. To me, these little candles mitigated that. If you're very smart, you'd probably cover that. But if you cover that, your stop's probably too big. So that would be something valid for me. And for myself, it wouldn't be going very far. For myself, I would probably take this no further than something in here, depending if the risk reward was even worth it. Can you get in 1.6 pip, 1.5, living on the edge? And how many R would that be? So it's almost not worth taking. We can basically wait for this buy to happen. And if it doesn't happen, we're going to look for another buy. Completely up to you guys. But again, buys were what we initially had talked about. But yeah, no interaction is usually the extreme. And you're sort of reacting to this wick here. Now you have equal lows down here. Yeah, that would be inducement, 100%. Again, guys, just like pay attention to the way your POI forms. And for those of you that follow Sketchy, you'll see he marks these zones in yellow. And I actually started doing the same. Whenever you get a V-shaped recovery, these reactions, they seem to come back and mitigate those. And that is a very, very high probability that a BFI was involved. So we didn't get tagged in on that, and that's fine. Maybe we'll find another buy. We are up, take it. All right, so I wait for 25%, but we have some trigger happy people here, so we're gonna take that. And if that comes down lower and taps lower, we're taking that too. And and I guess our sell worked out. Yeah, totally cool. And this is probably more of the trade that we've been waiting for. And there is the top I would want. Either way, how big is 2.7 pip? I mean, that's not horrible. It's not amazing, but yeah. Now, if we're smart little fellas, and in the management perspective, where do you guys think we should take this? Like if you guys were me and you wanted to take partials, where would you take this, being that we're bullish on both time frames? You would take it to the first supply. So you would basically look for collecting partials at the first supply. That's totally valid. I'm pretty cool with that. We're also in 2 of these. So being that we're in 2 of these, I would have no problems collecting some money at these highs. But ultimately, what's the bigger picture here, guys? The bigger picture is we have a low that put in a high, and we have another low that put in another high. Did this high take this low? We could formulate the idea that maybe this low is somewhat strong and we could run this high. Exactly. Myself, I would be looking to run this high at a minimum. But being that we're in 2 of these positions, we're going to take partials at the London highs. Yeah, we can take partials wherever, guys. Being that we're in 2 of these, we can even take our first set of partials at this high. Like, I'm not against anything. So this is more or less of something we were looking for. But yeah, mark these POIs out when you see stuff like this, guys. Sweep to the left, sort of a V-shaped reaction. You'll notice on Euro, they get respected quite a bit. GU, it's been kind of a weird pair. For me, it's where are you trading from and what time do you trade? So I live in Canada. I get up at 4:15, and I live in BC. So I'm in the Pacific time zone. So I get up at 4:15, usually 4:30, 4:40. I'm looking at the charts, and I trade between 5 to 8 a.m. As that's kind of my kill zone and my favorite time. I didn't even see that we mark these highs. So I'm just gonna shoot this beam here. So at a bare minimum, yeah, well, I guess we did. Okay, cool. So at a bare minimum, I'd be looking to run these highs. At this point, you'd be risk off. Whether these trades are go or not, you wouldn't really care. Being that you're in two of them, like I said, you can partial one out to cover the risk. But usually the high goes. And if the high doesn't go, then we turn around, we short it back down, and we short this low and buy back up from here. Yeah, definitely more interactive of a class. Like I said, some good trades called by you guys. I'm gonna have to start stepping up my game and get a little riskier here. Adrian kind of made me feel left out. Love the sessions. Me too, man. They're kind of nice. Because whether you guys are here or not, I'm gonna be doing this. But you know, then I'm not talking to myself looking crazy. Like I say, I have friends. Keeps me focused for Mondays. Absolutely. I was gonna actually play with GU later today after I take my dog for a bit of a walk. So a love-hate relationship with that pair. I got to trade off, it'll hit like 35R, and then I lose like the next 7 trades, and then I break even on like 4, and it's. But the win ratio and the R's you get on that pair, it does cover all your losses. It's just it hurts the psychology a bit because GU, I definitely don't have the hit rate that I have on EU. It's also a little larger stops, but it does move very aggressively. Have you traded AU? No, not at all, man. I was actually gonna look into that. I know a lot of guys have pretty good luck with AU. I actually coached the dude from Iraq, and he trades AU, and he sent me a trade he took on Friday, and he hit like 20R off, and I was like, man, go you, buddy. The guy barely spoke English, and yeah, he's killing it on AU. And that actually was kind of what made me want to look at it. Any cheat codes for GU? Cover the lows the way we don't, yeah, bigger stop losses. Cover your lows, and it seems to come to the extreme. And on GU, if you have 2 areas to get in, you basically got to put both orders on and just be willing to eat a loss. But more often than not, I find it comes to the extreme. And it's kind of an asshole. It'll wick below like 0.3, 0.4, and then go. So I found bigger stop losses on the pound pairs. Like it's not out of this world to have a 4 pip stop on GU, maybe even 5. It does sound large, but it's a very aggressive pair compared to this one. So it's kind of the equivalent of taking 2.5 pips on this. And it does work out, but definitely cover the low. Myself, I was going to be looking at the seconds a little more on it and see if I can get into GU with, you know, 3 pip and under stops. I was trading it before, and like I said, my hit rate on it wasn't so good. GJ, my hit rate's really good, but the RR is just not there. You hit off a 50 pip trade, and you're like, oh, cool, that was like a 8R. It's just likes throwing really long wicks with GU. So yeah, we're kind of a dead volume time here, and let's just play price forward a bit. All right, so what do we got here? EU is the best. GU, GJ entries can be risky. A lot of times they bounce off some sort of a breaker. Yeah. Honestly, I found GJ to be way friendlier than GU, but the spreads on it just suck. Like if I was swing trading, GJ or GA would be my trades. Day trading, EU is the easiest. I haven't checked out AU yet, so I can't speak for that. But I know a lot of people in the Phantom community do trade it. It's definitely maybe worth back testing. So we could definitely say we hit our heavy partials. Myself, I'd probably take a good 70-80% off and then just leave some runners on. What are we at here? 445. So we're like retiring off. So right now you would be 17R and 13R. So you're 30R on these. Yeah, take the week off. Have you traded XAU? I have. I like gold, but you need very large stops on it. And again, I found that it's not as it likes to wake you out and then run to target. Let's go buy a boat, right? Apparently Albie's got himself a yacht on his fake Instagram account there. I wouldn't say gold is shit. I would just say gotta have a little more patience with gold. You might take a hit or two before your trade goes just because of how wicky it is. So I completely like zoned out. But yeah, let's we can go look at this, see what we got going on here. Actually, before we do that, guys, let's just clean this up a bit. So this 4-hour zone's done. Not really too worried about that. You could say the 4-hour zone's still intact. We'll leave all this down here. But yeah, looking at the POI side of things, I'm gonna get rid of this. I would be looking at so your last sort of a supply and demand zones that matter would be this supply, that's your high peak, and then this demand that took it out. This is kind of one of those weird zones where you could say this candle's a demand, or we could be looking at probably this wick. I would pull that wick. If that fails, the next demand would be obviously the black candle we talked about, and the other area that stands out to me would even be this. So that's kind of where momentum came into the market. And you could say as this is inducement for that. So either one of these would be valid. Let's see, demand. Yeah, we're gonna pull that too, absolutely. Being that this is bullish, like I said, we don't know where our buys are gonna come from. The lower, the better. But we also just had a 4-hour supply, so there's chances of some sort of retracement. Could say you have this zone, and we'll go that, or 15 demand, I guess. And you could even say this is something here. We'll pull it. Probably pull these wicks. So see how it reacts. And we don't really have a 15 supply to pull quite yet, and we can revisit that. So yeah, on the 1 minute side of things, so we can kind of see how we play out here. Now, being that we are in a 4-hour supply, we would expect some sort of retracement, whether it's this supply or the next supply, but ideally we want to buy from one of these demand zones, but that doesn't mean we can't short into it. So at this point, we're basically just looking for anything that tells us we should go one way or the other. Being that we are bullish, I would be, like I said, I want to see that buy, but the buys need to come from something here, preferably. I mean, I'm not against taking a buy from here, but preferably lower. It also would be nice to short this down and catch something. So that's not like anything amazing that we're looking at for PA right now. More often than not, we will get a reaction. Yeah, you'll probably get a reaction, and it should come down. If we actually just investigate this a little further, let's actually just look at this. So the 15 shows us that it taps the next supply. So I'm just going to delete this one. Or actually, before we do that, if we just look at this. So even looking at this next, yeah, exactly. So there's no inducement here. this to me will likely fail as it has no inducement. So you're probably safe to say it'll come into something higher and react. But yeah, we're done with that one. Okay. So there's nothing really there right now. Now that we're looking at this, we can see if we can get some kind of trade going. Can you throw on the sessions indicator in context to volume? Yeah. You don't really need it in the sense of the candles are going to show you. Why did that not? Here, hold on. Let's try indicators, session, volume. I think it's this one. When would you, when you look at the reaction from the 4-hour zone, would you look for a 1-minute chalk or 15-minute chalk? 15-minute chalk is if you're safe. If I see a couple of failed reactions on the 1 minute and it fails to create new highs, I'll usually just short off one demand going because of the multiple failed reactions. Just a regular sessions indicator. I don't really use indicators, but sure. I tried every indicator in the book when I started out. And which one do you want, buddy? Like for our style of trading, the size of the candle and the reaction points is every indicator you need. If you want an indicator, circle which one you want, just to show market sessions. Oh, you're talking about this one here. Yeah, we could definitely, so we know the times and where London and New York is. Well, London's about to open and New York starts over here. But yeah, I tend not to use these because your chart just gets ugly. But we can definitely turn that on in a second here. Just gonna shut it off so I don't have to look at it because that's god awful. But I know what some guys do is they just run vertical lines, and then there is a cleaner indicator too that'll run just vertical lines. So we could even do this. We'll call London and we'll say New York. Fuck's sakes. Hold on. So we'll call this New York. And obviously you want to look at the we want to look at the charts an hour before London and an hour before New York. So that's a little cleaner to me. We'll run with that. And again, guys, anything you see, anything you want to take, we're here for all of it. There's no wrong, there's no right. We just, can you zoom in? Absolutely. I suppose that would be pretty small. All right, is that a little better, guys? Yeah. You want to, you're looking at this as a broken demand. Okay, so this is our sort of a demand you're saying. I mean, we did just hit off 30 hours, so if you guys want to take whatever, I think we're pretty safe to take whatever and still be in profit. Also a chalk, yeah, it is, absolutely. Reaction point, not really a reaction point, I guess, unless you consider this doji as a reaction point, but I would probably be looking at this doji or the extreme. In this case, you could say the extreme was mitigated by the doji. So I'm totally cool with taking that. Wolfa can take anything you guys want. Do you want to take the doji or the whole candle? You guys want to just take just the doji? That's probably what I would look at. But again, I'm pretty open to whatever. El doji, I like it. I like it. And in a little bit here, we'll check the higher time frame and see where we want to short that to. Being as we got such a great entry, I would probably say this is stacked liquidity, and we look for this. How quick can we get this risk off? That's my next question. Is that? Oh, it's a little absurd. 1 pip. It's pretty. It's not bad. You can go pick 1.2 to be safe. So yeah, you can get this risk off pretty quick. So stuff like that I like. Wicks for chalk and body for boss. I take wicks for everything. That's totally at your own discretion. 1 minute I use wicks for everything. Seconds I use wicks for everything. But that has to be completely up to you guys and how you trade. And this is, again, a perfect speech of don't think you missed out and you need to find something in here on the seconds. That's where the seconds can be really, really messy. And if that takes us out, we can get back in and we'll cover that high. You know what? Being that we're that small, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd rather take the loss, get back in. But we'll leave it there for now. So wicks for chalk and body for boss. Hey, I'll have to look at that. Like myself, I use wicks, but next time I backtest, maybe I'll pay attention to that. Always looking to refine. So we did get in here. Being that we came into this, what are we here? We're 4 hours, so we're risk off anyway. I like covering high base entry, 1.9 pip stop. Yeah, we can. There's no reason to. I'd sooner take the loss, get back in. But we're risk off at this point anyway. So if we did want to look at something here, we can kind of check out the 15 targets. I would probably be looking to come down to here at a bare minimum. Preferably a little lower down on the 15 side of things. We don't really have any proper demand. Like you could say this wick is some sort of a demand. It hasn't really put in a new high, but I'm gonna mark it because it probably is some sort of something. And again, depending how you guys are, being that this is counter trend, you can take partials or you can break even. I would want to see this zone hit, and there's a probability that it will. Yeah, so 10-minute wick, yeah, I'll take that. Like again, it's not an amazing demand as it didn't put in a new high, but it's some sort of something. But targets are, yeah, this demand or lower, and then we want to buy back up in theory. And that being said too, would you guys look for a buy from here? Hold on, let's get yes, no. Would you guys look for any buys off this wick? We got a yes. I like it. I like it. So we got one yes. We didn't get anything else so far. Yeah, let's look for a buy. Why not? I'm totally cool with whatever. It whether it's a buy or sell. So you're looking at that as a supply. Very aggressive. I like it. I like it. We might run this one just a little past 2 hours just so we can get the session done. Let's see how quick it goes here. All right, so there's your initial reaction there. So that being said, we didn't run the lows. I'm just going to get rid of this. Yes. Okay, cool. So you did get a break there. The reaction point did get taken out by this. We'll say we took some partials on this. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll say we took some partials on that sell. That's 2 pips there. Do you guys want to take a buy on that? We totally can. There's no wrong or right. And when price is this bullish, why not? I like it. I like it. And we're just going to say this one's going to shoot for the moon and probably reverse. But I'm not against taking anything. So we're in that buy. We've taken partials on our sell. That's totally fine. That's the downside of buying higher up. But like I said, when price is this aggressive, sometimes it runs. And losses for this really, it shouldn't count for much because you can get such good R's. Those equals don't bother you. Well, my issue, I used to leave this stuff saying they're going to get run. And a couple of times in the last few weeks, I've shorted and bought off equals and was able to make money. If I can get risk off quick, then no. And I'm not against taking a couple of hits. But you also don't have to take every trade you've seen. Would this be the highest probability setup we have here? Absolutely not. Yeah, you got equals there too. We could also just let this breathe too. Again, I'm not against any of it. This hasn't really given us anything outside that it's some sort of a range, and with the ranges we want to see edges. So I guess the guy could have shorted that, but we kind of missed that. Even looking at that though, you want to take that buy just from there. I don't know, man. I'm not against it. And there's your sweep of liquidity. Yeah, so let's see what kind of interaction we get here. And I am totally down for taking a buy wherever you guys want. All right, so we have a supply here. Yeah, so we didn't get much of an interaction there. If you guys want to take, would you look at a buy here? Sweep of liquidity, confirm the entry, SH, BMS, TRO. I have no idea what any of that means, but I am more than happy to take a buy. Yeah, we can totally, being that it's an edge, I would say right from where the move originated. And again, I also don't have a issue with shorting this. I do expect lower prices. I just don't know from where. And that's always like, we do expect higher prices too. We just don't know from which demand. So just kind of carry on. So you have weak highs and weak lows right now. Yeah, stop hunt. Well, stop hunt's not really anything. I think that's a bit of a myth because the algorithm more or less knows where liquidity lies. I don't think it's so much the banks care about our pennies. Yeah, something like that. Let's see what happens, guys. So you are kind of getting some failed reactions here, though. Like these are all failed reactions, and they were used as liquidity. Now you have more liquidity here. And the same on the top, and you have more liquidity there. So you kind of, yeah, very ugly area. Oh, that didn't work. Yeah, yeah, we could short back down to that too. As long as it's coming from an edge, I'm not against taking it. Do you want to take a, is that a risk entry you want to do, Adrian? Because if it is, I'm with you, man. Ooh. You guys want a risk entry? Let's do it. Adrian lives on the edge. Is that 1.5? And we could say we'll sell to here and buy back up. And in theory, that is that's like a 3-hour trade. It's not amazing, but Adrian needs to be in it, so we're going to be in it. Adrian, do you sell signals, bro? Oh, the 3-hour trade's still going. That being said, we took a loss on the buy. We're clearly in a range trade from the edges. Absolutely, dude. I'm with you. And this is where these equals will get run, but we don't know when. So at this point, can we say we're going to run these equal lows? Obviously, they're going to get run. I would like to see this supply get tapped, or this demand, I should say. Sorry. It just rocks. My dog's here. He wants to walk. Just wait, buddy. We'll go soon. Holy, that's just not nice. Why? It's not even cool. You still on a trip, Rob? No, I'm back home, man. I went fishing for 5 days and I didn't get a bite. I didn't catch a fish. I flipped the boat at 9 o'clock at night, almost drowned. It was a great story. But out of 7 of us, only 1 guy got a fish. It was supposed to be a fishing resort. And let me just tell you, we're boycotting the lake, and we're going for a different lake next year. So it's all about, yeah, exactly. My brother-in-law stood up to piss on the boat and flipped the boat, and he lost all his fishing gear, and we had to swim back to shore at 9 o'clock at night. It was pretty cool. Gotta go. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, no problem. You'll get an email. You get an email, guys, with the recording for anyone that's got to leave. But we can at least maybe see where we get to with this. And we would have obviously taken money off the table because we're not retarded. And being that we're in a range, we want to pay ourselves. We can also probably get rid of this. Oops. Seeing these long wicks here, I would probably take the majority of this trade off right now. That's just me. You guys don't have to, but I would totally be looking at that. That also being said, let's have a look at the 10-minute. So it's an ugly, ugly, ugly POI. I'm not going to pull the whole thing, but this candle got engulfed. We're just going to pull the bottom half, but that's some sort of something. And yes, you would pull the whole candle. I just don't want my whole screen gray. Is it cleaner on? Well, hold on, actually. It's a little better on the 13-minute here. That's a little more refined. All right, cool. So now looking at this, so seeing wicks like that, that's some sort of rejection. We also had what I want to talk about here. Now that we have a POI we're trading off of, we also had this that we kind of disregarded, and we didn't get any kind of interaction here again. And as soon as we don't get any kind of interaction, I'm pretty okay with placing an order on the extreme. Did we sweep liquidity? Yes. Did we engulf? Yes. Did we stack liquidity here? Yes. Did we come get it? Yeah, you could call it that. I would call it this as if you look at the size of this candle here, where the momentum came from, this would be your true source of supply, at least to me. Thanks, gotta go. Yeah, thanks for coming out, buddy, and you'll get the recording that'll be uploaded later today. So to myself, the extreme is 100% valid. I would totally put an order on this extreme, whether it comes to it or not. Well, I guess that answers that. That obviously didn't tap us in, but we'll just wait and see what kind of reaction we get here. All right, cool. So we're in that. Now, management wise, so we are bullish. Not the most amazing POI. I was kind of hoping to hit this one, but that's totally cool. And we have a sort of a supply here that gave us our last drive. So if you want it to be a little safer, you could even wait for this supply to go. And we all know Adrian's not about safety, so we'd probably be in 9 trades by now. Well, that's not my favorite reaction. So we did get a break there, guys. We did get a sort of this is kind of a weird one, but let's say that was our initial entry. So would have passed FTMO with this sesh with Adrian's trades. Yeah, you probably would have, man. Initial reaction was here. What took out the reaction point? It would be probably this whole big ugly candle. Would I take the whole big ugly candle? Probably not. You could say the move originated here too. Either or, but I would say this big, huge, ugly thing caused it. If I get something like this, I would probably sit on the seconds and see what kind of reaction I get. Or you can just be like, well, I don't want to deal with this big ugly thing, and I will deal with this extreme that causes it. Yeah, you got to chalk 100%. Well, not the most amazing thing, but I think it's reacting to this candle. So in this case, if we were waiting for the extreme, we might miss this. So you would have probably taken it off half of this candle. But that's completely up to you guys. But it would have to be a smaller stop, right? Like that whole candle is just unrealistic. If you do end up taking it from a candle like that, just take half the candle. There is no reason to take that. And if this takes you out right here, jump back in on this candle. I would sooner take a loss than take a 3-pip stop, because it's just not worth having stops that large with Euro. Yeah. So management wise, we're going into another supply. I would definitely pay myself when we run these highs. We could even, yeah, at the bare minimum, you'd probably take something off at these highs. What is that? Even that high. That's a 6R trade. That is a, what is that? And so that's 6.15. We got another 6.7 there. That one failed. This one broke even. So yeah, I would take heavy partials at those highs, being that it's still a range. And ultimately, yeah. So you nailed off another 13R between these two trades, and you could, pay yourself 80% here. And at this point, you could either leave the rest on or look for a short back down. We'll probably just run this a little more here and see what it does. So let's see. So the rest of your partials, when you see a wick like that, I'd probably be out of that by now. I close that. It should come down. I don't know from where or when, but I would probably take a majority of these partials off. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I wouldn't really be too worried about it. Would you guys? What is that? 9R, 9R, 18R, like you call it a day. Can't catch every pip, but what you can now say is you had a chalk and flip. You had no, just looking at this candle, I would say that's your entry zone. And this is your demand that absolutely got massacred. No, no interaction of any kind. And there's your top. And let's say it's always the trades that are not pretty. Yeah, man. 100%, but it is also a 4-hour supply. If you're smart, you'll probably cover the high wick. We're not smart, so. And I would at the bare minimum be shooting for this demand and probably take, 70% partials there. I would wait for another break. You totally can. And we can take the next break too. The only reason we're in this is the size of that down candle. So speaking of another break, I would say we're getting them. I would say you had another demand fail here. You had another demand. So that would be our safer entry. So now 100%, we can say this candle some sort of something. That probably take a pip and a half, maybe 1.3. Sounds good. And same thing, I take heavy partials at this demand. And since you got 2 trades going, you can close 70 or 80% of one and close 50% of the other. And let's see what happens. And that's it. So New York hasn't even opened, and yeah, 13R, 15R, you're done. I would probably not even trade New York, guys. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Give me a few hours. I'll get this on YouTube later today, and I'll email everybody a link. But yeah, this was quite the session here. Definitely a lot better when there's more input. We'll shoot for another one next Sunday, guys. And yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone. I will see you then. We'll just end this here. Thanks for your time. Yeah, of course, guys. Like I said, we'll be doing this next Sunday. And yeah, we'll go from there, guys. You look out for that email from me later today, and I'll announce when the backtesting session goes up for sale again, and we'll do another one. Have a good day, everyone. Free seats gonna have a recording. Yeah, I'm gonna send one to everybody. I like to give out 3 free seats a week to whoever shares all my stuff. So even if you guys want to share being in the backtesting session and tag me, I'd be more than happy to give a couple free seats out to all the shares. But yeah, have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next Sunday.